Hey everybody, Coach BK here. I wanted to make a video for the folks that are supporting Ironman in training. And I thought that it would be like 10 things you need to know, or like some survival tips on this Ironman in training thing. A couple of disclaimers. So I'm a triathlete, I'm an Ironman, and female. And so I'm kind of partial to the triathlon Ironman people. So this will be jaded to support them. But I do recognize, and I do want to throw out that I just made a two-part series, kind of some considerations, thoughts to think about for the person that's signing up for Ironman, to think about before they sign up. And one of the biggest points, takeaways that I tell them all the time is that you need your support, your family buy-in, because they pay a big price. The Ironman in training, the the triathlete has to put a lot of effort forth. However, the family, kids, friends, everybody pays a pretty big price for this person because it is very intense. I think that maybe a lot of people enter into signing up for an Ironman and they don't quite know what they're getting themselves into. There's all these books, and just the sheer fact that it's, one book, and they touted all that you need. Maybe it lends to think that it's not a big deal, but it is. It's a really big deal. And then considering if you have limitations, or like you're overweight, or you have family, a career, etc., training for an Ironman is a really big deal. It's more than 6 months. It's ideally you would be investing a year into this process. So all of that being said, so for the folks that are supporting your Ironman triathlete in training, first thing that I want to talk about is why they do it. I think that if people were to understand just a little bit more on what's behind this sign up for a really expensive race that sounds crazy. A lot of people have asked me over the years, why do you do that? And a lot of people might think that it's to show off, it's to for ego thing. And I think for the majority of people that are signing up for Ironman, that's not it. It's not about ego. For me personally, it has always been about the personal growth that I want, and I use Ironman to accomplish that. So for this year, I've just started taper. We'll get to taper later, what taper is, but this year when I signed up for Ironman Texas, my primary goals were all personal growth driven goals. The thing with Ironman that is a truth, and training for an Ironman, is that your worst habits will come back to haunt you. They will slap you in the face like with a 2x4. This is where the personal growth comes from. To accomplish Ironman season and race successfully, there's a lot of things that go into it. It's really mind-boggling if you run through it all. And the personal growth required, the daily method of operation, the eating, the sleeping, the self-discipline, the determination, all the little times that you get knocked down a little bit, get back up. Repeatedly, over and over and over. The lessons come at you at a pretty quick pace. And there are so many things that an Ironman triathlete will learn along the way about themselves, about perseverance, about resilience, about not giving up. So for those of us, or for those that they have this idea that, it's a goal that they want, and behind that goal is they just either want to be healthier, which is a huge goal in and of itself. If we all just worked a little bit harder at being healthier, things would be so much different. Some people are lost and they're trying to find themselves. maybe an older woman, a middle-aged woman has raised her kids and has devoted her life or whatever to, providing for the home and doing this, and here she is. And who is she now? Some people go to triathlon, Ironman for the community, for the support, for kind of finding something that they're missing. And it's not about the race necessarily, but Ironman is so hard. It's hard enough to strip away all the BS that all you have left is you. So you find yourself. And then if you find parts that you don't like, you either fix them or you might not accomplish Ironman. That's kind of the two things. You either DNF, do not finish, or you learn your lesson and you move on and you're a better person. With the folks that I coach all the time, I have this saying, you're working on BK 2.0 or 3.0. I know that's the case for me. And this year in Ironman Texas, there's a lot of things that I accomplished, and it had nothing to do with the race. I'm running into the race and I really just feel completely accomplished, like I don't need to do the race because I signed up and it really didn't have anything to do with the race, but I've accomplished everything that I needed to do in order to do the race successfully. So I feel like, I'm done. So, kind of the first tip of, supporting an Ironman in training is that you might not understand why they're doing it. And it's not your place to understand why they're doing it. If you've agreed to support them, if you are a friend of theirs, it's your job to support them in their goal. Just because it sounds crazy, Ironman triathlon isn't any different than going and having a baby or getting married or this or that or that or this. If you've agreed to support them, then supporting them means that you might not understand and they might get a little crazy, and don't take things personally, but they need all the love and the support that you can give them, because it's hard. It's really hard to pick yourself up every day. Maybe if you're struggling for a month or two, it can be very difficult to have the fortitude to do that. And it really takes a village to accomplish Ironman. It really does. That's why, again, I'm very adamant with my athletes and people that I interact with to really think about, you're signing up for this Ironman, but you're not the only one that's going to be doing a lot of the work. Okay? You're going to be doing the physical work, but everybody else is going to have to support you, pick up the slack, etc., etc. Or there's other prices that, if you don't get the laundry done, right? Number two, I've equated to it already. It's really intense. The amount of exercise that they need to do consistently over a 4 to 6 month time period is very grueling. You're teaching your body how to do things, teaching the mind how to allow the body to do things. It becomes very intense. So, it's like, ideally, consistent workouts all the time. So they're trying to schedule their life, the Ironman in training, to accomplish these goals, and they have this plan. They get a little crazy about the plan because they have no idea if they can do it. Most people have no idea. Their fear, their heart is on the line here. They have committed to this, but the fear and the self-doubt and anything else that they're working around really gets in the way. And so they have this plan. Maybe they have a coach. Maybe they're working off a plan that they bought or something that they downloaded. So they have this plan. And they feel very, very compelled to stick to the plan because they have this, they're grabbing onto the fact that if I do this plan, I'm going to be able to accomplish this because I set out to do this and it really, really matters to me. Very seldom does it not matter a lot to them for one reason or another. And so they grab onto this plan and they grab onto, I need to swim here and here and here and here, and I need to do this and I need to do that. This is what the plan says. This is what my coach says. And so they get a little kind of crazy when schedules and whatnot, things get in the way. So If you're a husband with some kids at home, this is where conversation and communication comes in, is how much slack are you going to pick up? What's the expectations, right? And so, to support that Ironman in training, if, the husband needs to do the dinner because she needs to bike ride for this long, maybe that's the agreement that you make in helping facilitate the accomplishing of the plan, because the plan can drive them crazy, and they will get crazy when they start seeing all these boxes that aren't done, because again, the heart goal is on the line, something that really matters to them, and then they're completely attached to this plan of okay, I have to do all of this stuff in order to accomplish this. And truth be told, especially for first-time Ironman, that needs to happen. The consistency is one of the biggest things in this endurance adventure. Consistency over time, over the week, is really important. Okay. Number 3 on what it's like to live with or support or be around a person in training for an Ironman. They eat a lot. A lot. Not so much in the very beginning, because the workouts aren't that intense, but they will end up eating a lot. A lot. And so from experience with coaching people and things that I have heard and things that I have read in the Facebook groups and whatnot, the things that kind of really get under the skin of some Ironmen in training is most of them are not exactly the weight they want to be. Most of them aren't in the exact shape that they want to be. And if you're not a coach and you're not their coach, I would highly suggest that you don't tell them what to do, and maybe don't give them suggestions and whatnot about weight, about judgment on if you think that they can do it or not. Thoughts on should you be eating this, should you be doing that, etc., etc., etc. There are a lot of Ironman triathletes that are overweight. There are a lot of ones that go faster than people that are exactly the weight they need to be. So weight can be a touchy subject. Eating can be a touchy subject. The Ironman triathlete needs to eat. They need to eat well. So if you're a family member or whatnot in charge or have influence on what they eat, maybe not pizza all the time. Maybe healthier food, because a lot of the times they come to the table and they want to get healthier, they want to eat healthier, and I'm not talking about anybody, okay? I'm just talking about theoretically. Gosh, I hope nobody thinks that I'm talking about them. Anyway, it's important to really kind of try to sign on to some of their goals and support them, and that means kind of like living a little bit like the way they need to live. I've seen a lot of especially in couples, that they're not really aligned to. One of them's eating really well and one of them's not. And so if this one that's trying to do well and change lifestyle and stuff like that, it can be very, very difficult for an Ironman in training to eat well if his counterpart is not. And I've heard a lot, I've read a lot about how, some people that maybe aren't even triathletes or whatever talk about, should you actually be eating that? One of the biggest things for me, and it doesn't ever get under my skin anymore because it just doesn't. This is my third Ironman. I've, been in triathlon a while. Well, you shouldn't be drinking that beer. Oh, well, this dark beer makes me happy, and I know what I'm doing. So, and then other things, like nachos. I like nachos, and I'm going to eat nachos. But I've had people kind of look at my plate and, well, how are you going to accomplish that Ironman if you're eating nachos? Don't ever say that, okay? Don't say that. They eat a lot. Don't judge them for how much they're eating, because they need to eat a lot, and they need to not feel self-conscious about it at all, because they're kind of cray-cray anyway. So they eat a lot. Just get them food. If they start getting a little hangry, crangry, angry, whatever, ask them if they need something to eat. They like French fries with salt. Smoothies would be awesome too. Chicken and rice. Just feed the animals, and things will be a lot better, because eating enough to support the Ironman triathlete, especially if you're busy, is hard. And they might be a biatch because they're just hungry. So that's not giving them a pass. They need to be responsible for their behavior and stuff, and I coach them to make sure they're eating right. But on the other side of it, when they're getting cranky or a little short or quiet or whatever, they're tired. Most of the time they're just probably hungry, and they need to eat. The heavy volume days, they might need to replace 2 to 4, 5,000 calories at the peak stuff a day. That's a lot of calories. Space that out and stuff. So they need to eat a lot. They eat a lot. They're going to be tired and cranky. Okay. This is what I would say to those supporting Ironman in training. You'll love the outcome. You will. You'll see the personal growth. They'll change. And the price to be paid is kind of this in the middle part where it's difficult. It's like going to college or having a pregnant woman. The baby at the end is totally worth it. Dealing with the stuff in the middle can be hard, but you do it, right? And it's the same with Ironman in training. It's totally worth it. It is totally worth it for them, how they are going to change, the beautiful things that they'll add to your life and whatnot because of what they've learned. You'll like it. And then the middle part is just kind of, it's unfortunate. Don't take things personal. That being said, again, I talk to my athletes, and I tell them stuff like, okay, there's a couple of rules with my coaching, is that you're going to be healthier on the flip side of it. So you got to eat enough calories, you got to do this, you got to do that. But you also have to learn how to, work well in your environment and be married at the end and do this and that. So, I coach them to understand that during their training, they need to adult well too. And if that's in their relationships or their parenting or whatnot. We've already, number 5 was they're going to change. They will change. For the better. They will change. They will be stronger. Hopefully they will drop some of the self-doubt and fear and stuff like that, and you'll see this kind of evolution, and it's pretty cool. I have already said they become obsessed about the plan. They get obsessed about their bike. They become obsessed about all these different things, and it can be very daunting. And if you don't understand, if the supporting person isn't a triathlete, it can be really hard to understand what in the world's going on. Finding a triathlon community would be really fun and useful for them to get questions answered if they have a coach or whatnot. So hang in there with that aspect. And they might talk about it a lot. Like a lot. And it's just because it's so big and huge, and they want to do a good job. And again, remember, the first thing is that it's a big goal to them, and it means a lot to them. So they're going to immerse themselves in it. And it's not that they don't, they're just focusing for that time to learn what they need to learn. Hopefully they have enough balance and stuff to balance family life and this life and that life with the Ironman stuff, and hopefully the community and the support people that are triathletes tell them, hey, make sure that you're not running over everybody else. But it can become very obsessive because there's a lot of things to learn. Like, how do you manage water on your bike? How do you manage fuel on your bike? How do you manage doing this? How do you manage doing that? How do you deal with this? How do you deal with that? What about all the things that go sideways? My seat is hurting my lady parts. This is a big deal. It's just over and over and over, and there's just so many things that they're learning and have to tackle and have to come to grips with, and it just is a lot. It is a lot. So kind of be patient with that, and hopefully they don't become so obsessed that it's too much to expect. So there's that healthy balance. They eat a lot. Help is really important for the person training for an Ironman. Training for an Ironman by yourself is quite hard, especially if it would be for a first time. So I wouldn't suggest that necessarily. There's lots of ways to get help. A book is okay, but you really need people. So a tri club or triathlon training group. Facebook groups are okay too, but the day-to-day stuff is kind of different and important. But for people that are supporting the triathlete, Ironman in training, laundry goes to the wayside, and then they just produce so much. So getting laundry done is a hard thing. Food shopping, food is so important to have a handle on, but getting to the store and remembering stuff. I think one of the foundation things that kind of goes wonky with this Ironman and training thing might be hard to deal with is that they're just the thought processes, and the fact that they feel overloaded all the time and overwhelmed can make them hard to manage, hard to get along with, just kind of crazy all over. But getting just daily stuff done can be a big challenge. Like just getting to point A to B with all the clothes on and the makeup on and everything that you need can be very daunting when the training gets to be pretty high. So, little things that help, like doing the laundry or buying extra Kind bars when you're at the grocery store, or things that that they like to eat. Having things that are, quick eats that they can grab in a pinch. Being gracious when they eat all the potato chips or the French fries, or kind of pushing food over into their area when they're done eating and you're still eating, and stuff like that. There's just so many kind of little things that go on. Just a ton of stuff that you can help with. And this, as I continue talking, it makes the Ironman in training sound very, very needy, and sounds like a lot of work for the support people, and it is. I just want to always impress with you that the juice is worth the squeeze. What they are doing is worth it, because they'll come out of this when they finish their race. When you see them finish, it'll be a once in a lifetime moment for two people, because you'll see something so raw and they have worked so hard for it, and it is one of those moments for them that they'll cherish forever. There isn't anything like, short of giving birth to babies, and I think maybe graduating from college, but not really. I never had any doubt that I could graduate from college, but what they feel when they finish that race, and this is why it changes them for the better, makes them just more brilliant and a better person, is that feeling that they get when they finish that race is it'll be one of their favorites. And so sharing that with them, sharing the process with them, it's just like anything else. If they want to go back to school and change their degree or do this or do that, it's just that, yeah, it's a race, and, you get some bling and it's expensive and da 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 da. But truth be told, over the years, I've seen so many people change for the better just by doing the deal, just the whole process, the journey of it. So all of the help and the support that you give them is totally worth it. I promise. Sleep is really important for the Ironman triathlete. Sleep is really important. And just supporting them and telling them that they can do it. Even if you don't understand why they're doing it, or don't understand it at all, or maybe don't think that they can do it, or whatever, always say to them, you've got this, the day-to-day thing, and then, going into the race. I've seen people, and myself included, on my first Ironman, I had no idea if I was going to be able to do it. And if I hadn't finished it, it still would have been worth it, because the things that I learned rolling up into the things that I had to do and learn, the journey was completely worth it. So it's more than a race. It's more than a shirt. It's more than that bling. It's more than running down the finish or chute. For most of us, it's about change and growth and being human and seeing what you got. And it'll make you a better parent or a better wife or a better partner or a better coworker. It'll just make you a better human being. And so supporting them in that and telling them, hey, you got this. When it gets tough, because doubt is huge. I mean, this is an astronomical goal. So always being positive and telling them that they got this, that you're proud of them, is important. And I already touched on that they get a little crazy, or a lot crazy. And really, frankly, to even consider, hey, I'm going to sign up for an Ironman and do that, you got to be crazy anyway. Just a touch of it, because, the mediocre don't sign up for Ironman. The folks that are movers, shakers, the ones that are kind of bound down a little bit, have been by life, but they want to fight and get out from under whatever's holding them back. They're a little outside the box anyway. So it can be a lot. It's worth it. They don't... They don't mean to be crazy and angry and hangry and all that stuff and super obsessed and whatnot. And I'll touch on kind of the last bits and anything else that I can think of that maybe a supporting person would want to know or understand. Injury happens. They will become very angry, crangry, whatever. And it comes back to that first thing that we talked about, how it's this goal, it's their heart that they've put on the line and committed to, and then so when they see things get in the way, it's hard to deal with that. There's a book written by a really good PhD guy, The Brave Athlete. If they become angry or sick or something that just kind of gets in the way of this goal, things go a little sideways. And job stuff and whatnot. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind, that there's just a ton of stuff going on, and most of it is emotional kind of things going on, because it really matters and they really want to do it, and it just scares the living daylights out of them. When the hard training is over and you're rolling into getting pretty close to the race, there's this thing called taper. And this thing called taper is, it's a resting, rebuilding, pull all of it in, wrap it all up in a bow thing. Two things. Athletes, human beings used to exercising for a lot of time, or getting happy hormones, serotonin and stuff like that. So physiologically, when the volume goes down, the amount of time that their training goes down, they can get a little crazy, and it's physiologically going on. Some of this they kind of don't have any control over, sort of. The folks that I coach, I tell them, okay, take all this energy and all this stuff, and you got to move it, physically or mentally into, hey, I got this. And that will help. And this is where kind of the discipline, mental discipline comes in. But taper has some physiological chemical reactions going on in the body, and it can make them hard to get along with. Plus, they're rolling into this epic race they're getting ready to toe the line to, and it's just like anything else. They're excited, they're fearful, they're dealing with self-doubt, crazy, called taper. Okay. In taper is when they're, they're freaking out about, what am I going to put in my special needs bag? What am I going to do here? What am I going to do here? They're questioning their training. Not to mention that over all of this time, they have been comparing themselves to everybody else and what everybody else is doing. Because at the end of the day, they want to be successful. And they want to do everything that they can to be successful. So they can become hard to handle rolling up into the race, and I would just ask you to give them grace. Lots and lots and lots of grace, because again, I'll tell you that the person that you see emerge after that race, totally be worth it. It will be worth it. They will be a different person. The smile that you see, what you see in their eyes when they accomplish this very large goal, that moment, in my opinion, is worth a lot. Okay, it's like seeing your child cross graduation. It's a big deal. So taper can be difficult to handle, rolling into the race, stress and stuff like that. And so just lots of grace for them. And, as a coach on my side, I am always encouraging them to keep themselves in check. That's why I harp on them so much about nutrition. Eating is so important. Sleeping is so important. If they're doing these aspects right, everything else kind of is manageable, and you can kind of keep things at bay and under control if they're eating right, sleeping right. If they don't eat right and sleep right, for females, the hormones get way off, and then that adds a whole different flavor to this whole thing, because then they're kind of like PMSing the whole time. So eating is important, sleeping is important. It'd be awesome if, rubbing their legs or whatever for the spouses, kids, etc. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm going to talk about the race too, and training and stuff like that. Going into a race, this Ironman race, okay, it's a long day. So let's say that it's going to take them, let's call it 15 hours. Okay, 15 hours, and you're waiting on them for 15 hours. And so for the person that's supporting the Ironman in the race, hopefully they know their pace as well, and they have written down for you, when swim starts. They have studied the race venue, and you have an idea of where you're supposed to be when. So, be here at swim start, and there different races do different things as far as where you can be as a non-athlete, etc. So kind of understanding that. They get to the race a day or two before, and they have to do a series of things. Like they have to have their bike checked. They have to check their bike in and leave it. They have to check in. They have to get weighed. They have to get their bags, pack their bags, drop their bags off. There's just a sequence of events that needs to happen. And one of the things that I tell all of my athletes that training for half Ironman or Ironman is that when you get to the venue, I want you to please ask your people to give you time by yourself. Or if it's just maybe a husband or whatnot, no kids, no distractions, not chattering at them while they are, and I tell them, okay, I want you to run through your race mentally in, a real quick snippet. So walk to the swim start, look at the water, pretend that you swim your swim, walk to transition, look at where your bike's going to be, memorize a flag or a sign or whatever so you can orientate yourself where your bike's going to be. Ironman bike racks, there might be 4,000 or 5,000 people here. It's a big, big place. So, memorizing where things are at as far as landmarks and whatnot can really help ease the day. If they can walk through this and really just kind of like be super chill, maybe you're with them and you're carrying their bag, don't talk to them. Let them do their thing. Or if you know about their training, whatnot, it kind of depends on how much you're involved. Ask them questions about the race. How'd the swim feel? How was that, that bike? Talk me through transition. Just to facilitate, they need to focus on the race. And we're talking about maybe half an hour of effort. Okay, so they look at the swim, they run through transition, they look at the bike. If you guys have time, and drive some of the bike course or drive some of the technical stuff, to get the mental map in their head, can help them navigate race day a lot better with a little more ease and familiarity. Get back to transition, look at the run course. If you can, walk in and out of the changing tents, or just the whole thing. Anything that you can do to get right there where it's at, the body will respond and the mind will appreciate seeing it. Okay. So that's important to have happen, a day or two before the race. And then hopefully, this whole race thing, everything kind of moves into them, the race. If you're doing a kid's, vacation stuff, balancing that, yes, but have dedicated time to where it's just race stuff, and that, maybe the supporting people are carrying a lot of the weight, doing a lot of the work, managing the kids, helping the time be as less stressful as possible, because come race day, those 15 hours, it's a large toll on their stress, and they might appear calm, but the day before race, their mind is just 90 mile, and they need to be chill. That stress response can wreak havoc on the body, can affect sleep. Another thing about supporting, right before race is try your hardest to things to be on routine. So eating the same places, eating what they're used to, whatever that looks like. All of these things are very important, and maybe the non-triathlete isn't going to be very mindful of stuff like that. It's a big thing. It's a huge thing, and if we can just shift focus just for a couple of days and have it be all about them, because it really helps. These little things will really help with them being successful. And the effort and the thought and the dedication that you give lets them know that you are on board, that you are behind them, that you have faith in them, and that you're supporting them. And that means a ton. So for an Ironman doing this race, knowing that they're supported is really important. So on race day, either asking them beforehand or you taking it upon yourself to really understand, when does race start for them? Where am I going to be? Having your phone and taking pictures. They like that. Making sure that you're prepared for the whole day. Um, there are times that you can take a break and manage stuff and whatnot. But, if you're supporting an Ironman triathlete and doing that race, it's important to be there. So understanding when the race starts, understanding what their swim time is, and maybe kind of understanding a little bit of, how long, the things that can go sideways a little bit for them, and maybe mentally thinking about some things to say to them when they, get out of the water or whatever, being very positive, maybe lifting up their spirits and stuff like that would be really important. Some people write notes to their spouses. Some people write big signs. That run blows. So, I've done it, and I know my friends have done it. Just make these crazy signs for the person that you know, and make a sign for them. And if it says something that makes them smile, I can't tell you how important that would be. Because that marathon at the end can be a dark place. It's hard and it's grueling. And if that triathlete knows that for the most part they can count on seeing your face after the swim, if the swim is hard for them, and while they're swimming, they're going to be thinking, I get to see that person or whoever, be it their team, their family, their spouse, their kids, whoever. I don't think that non-triathletes appreciate how much the support matters and how much it gets them through the race, through the whole training thing, but for the race specifically, because it gets really hard mentally to stay in the game. For the swim, that 2.4 mile swim, there's a section at the back end where you're like, dude, I'm so over this already. And, they lose pace or whatnot. But if they know that there's someone that is there supporting them, sort of holding them a little bit accountable for showing up when they wrote on their card that they were going to be there, it matters a lot. And then, seeing smiling faces, because frankly, sometimes those swims are tough. And just a smile and a face and an atta girl can change things up for hours. Okay. So understanding, where you can be, like bike in and bike out. Some races you can travel to special needs and you can say hi to them there. Just different things that you can do, understanding, just looking through the race information, understanding their times, and showing up and supporting them can make all the difference. Coming back in and being, around transition where they can see you. For support people, if you have shirts made or something that stands out or something that's going to catch their eye that they know and recognize, that can be a really big deal, because after 112 miles of biking, cognitively things kind of are a little wonky, and just, so that's another way that you can set stuff up. Wearing a bright hat or whatnot, that can help out a lot too for supporting the Ironman triathlete in the race. Understanding, and the run is like that too, being however the run is, if there's like 2 loops, 1 loop, whatever, look on the maps and see, hey, here's their projected times, I can go here, I can do this. If you're managing kids, when am I going to have the kids here? And then if you're needing to manage that, have a conversation with your triathlete, what you had planned on doing. Because they'll count on that, and that might make all the difference in the world between them stopping and walking and taking forever, or maintaining pace just on mental strength. You being there and supporting them, and them wanting to see your face and hear you say, hey, nice job, good job, keep going, means a lot to them. And then for the people supporting the Ironman at the end, kind of race dependent a little bit, but understand a little bit of the end. The end finish shoot and the end can be very congested. There's a lot of stuff going on. Where you want to be, if you want to video them, coming in or whatnot, Ironman takes good pictures and videos their finish and stuff like that, which costs money and whatnot. So positioning yourself where you can see them, where they can see you, or maybe if you had walked through the venue the day before, you can say, hey, I'm going to try to be right here on your finish, right? Because I know for the Ironman that I finished, I wanted to see my people when I finished. And it's important because for me it wasn't just about me either. It was about the team and the folks that supported me. So you wanted to share that experience with them. So those thoughts in your mind of supporting the Ironman triathlete. And a lot of people that have volunteered or supported an Ironman. Supporting a triathlete through an Ironman race is not an easy task. It sort of sounds like it should be, but it's not. It's a lot of work to run here, to do this, to do this, to do this, to be here, to be there. I mean, granted, they're putting a lot of effort in to accomplish this race, but supporting a triathlete in an Ironman race is not easy. And volunteering, it's some work. It's totally worthwhile. It's awesome. Volunteering for an Ironman is something special. You see a lot of grit and humanness, and seeing the end, them finishing, is beautiful. It's humanness at its raw potential, and you just see a lot of beauty in that swim start, and then the last hour of an Ironman, where you see the people that give it their all the ones that are challenged. That last hours is really a testimony to people not giving in, not giving up, and giving everything that they got. So I think that I haven't covered everything. What to expect of your Ironman finisher. And maybe you've already experienced this a little bit with training and stuff like that. But when they finish, they might be kind of high on life. And the reason why they have finisher catchers there is because the second that they stop moving, they have been pushing and pushing and pushing for a long time. Probably before they got off the bike. Definitely through most of that marathon, they have decided that they are not giving in, and then they're going to push, especially if they finish the run running. Now, if they're walk running and stuff like that, this might not be the case quite. But when they stop moving, stuff starts to fall apart. The volunteers will give them a blanket, one of those foil blankets. I coach my folks they have this thing called a morning clothes bag where they can put clothes in, and they're given that bag at the end. If you're supporting them and have a backpack, the things that I would have in there are foods that that they will eat immediately. Considering that their belly might just be completely PO'd. So for me, I will always eat almonds. And if there was Subway peanut butter cookies, I'd want 5 of them. Okay. Just things that that they'll eat, or like a Snickers bar. That would be something else that I would eat. You want to have food available for them. So Ironman will provide pizza and stuff like that, but sometimes that stuff just doesn't go well with those that have been eating really well. So I coach folks in their morning clothes bag to put in food that they would eat after, because if you can get food into them sooner than later, things go much better as far as recovery and how much of a zombie that you have to take care of. So food, warm clothes. Whenever I'm doing a race, I will show up to the race with clothes that I want to put on immediately afterwards. So something warm, my compression socks. I even had a change of socks and shoes because I didn't like wearing my shoes were wet when I finished, just completely drenched. Eye wipes, face wipes, something to wipe your face to refresh them can really make a big difference. It sounds kind of weird and stuff like that, but if you have a social butterfly for an Ironman triathlete and they want to stay for the end or they want to high five somebody or whatnot, totally awesome. But, you know, being able to wash their face, put warm clothes on, and food in their belly would be an excellent thing. They're going to walk funny. I would, you know, if they sit down, they're probably down for a while. So, you know, you need to kind of mentally ask yourself, do I want them to sit? Do I want to encourage them to sit or whatnot? Or keep moving? Generally, keep walking for a while is a really good idea. Getting compression socks on, while can be a huge ordeal, and they smell really bad, the Ironman triathlete, putting those compression socks on will really help with some of the leg stuff. So sleeping that night might be on and off. It's hard to sleep after an Ironman. And then they'll want to get up, and this is such an expensive sport, and they entice you with doing an Ironman with this silly finisher jacket, and it's important to them. They'll want to get up in the morning, like at 7 in the morning, and wait in this astronomically long line to go buy a jacket. Okay, so get them coffee, food, donuts, whatever. Wait in line with them, coffee. You'll need to kind of maybe like steer them around sometimes. They'll mentally be kind of like, they'll be high on life, but they won't be mentally all that, you know, there. They won't be doing math. They'll be talking about their race maybe. So they'll want to go to that, and then they'll be kind of tired. First day they won't be very sore. Second day you can be incredibly sore, and so getting around, helping them in and out maybe might be needed. They can get stretching and a massage in or at some point on that first day, second day, third day. It's normal for them to want to eat everything in sight afterwards. It's better than not. It's depending on their nutritional status rolling into the race, they might get sick. They might be really tired for a week or two. That's totally normal. Recovery time for an Ironman might be 2 weeks, if not a month. Kind of depends on how they trained, how seasoned they are, how well they ate, how well they recovered. Doing an ice bath after the race or the Normatec squeezy leg boots thing can really help with recovery. So those are some things that, you know, if you see after the race the next day or whatnot, if they have some of those Normatec boots, you put their whole legs in and have them do that. That would help with recovery. Massage would help. Ice bath being a cool bath and then add some ice in there. That will really help with inflammation and whatnot. Get some, you know, encourage them maybe to take some ibuprofen if they're feeling pretty healthy and hydrated. But that's kind of what to expect after the race. Hopefully they get back to kind of even keel and wanting to get back into it. Not back into Ironman training, but back into kind of functioning around with life and doing this and doing that. You know, within a week or two. If for those that are, you know, newer to triathlon or an Ironman, it might take a month for them to feel fairly energetic. Just really depends on the person. Everybody's a little bit different. But those are some things that are normal. And then there, you know, there's some other things that go on that to just be mindful of, like being cranky, the for females their periods being kind of funny due to all the volume and then the intense one day thing, and whatnot. So GI issues are very 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 common. If you're driving home the day after the race and they say something like, oh my gosh, you need to stop and pull over right now, that's pretty normal. It's a lot of stress on the body and then all the stuff that you put in and whatnot. So those are some ideas, just some from a supporting person point of view, what signing up for an Ironman means, what the training kind of looks like, and race day stuff. I want to emphasize that it really matters to them in a big way. It's a big deal for them, and hopefully they have the support that they need in order to accomplish this, because it can really change their life for the better. And if their life changes, your life changes, everything is just kind of super cool. So sometimes zooming out and not looking at it just like a race that they want to accomplish, but look at it more as a big life goal that they want to do, that they've set out, and they have seen something that looks impossible, and that they've decided that they want to give it a go. And your support and stuff will help facilitate them being able to do that, as far as them putting their best foot forward and really making a big difference in their lives, or and the lives of the folks around them, their children or spouse or friends, etc., etc., etc. So and they eat a lot. They need to eat a lot anyway. So Coach BK on kind of supporting the Ironman triathlete. Have a great day.